Paperless assessment on clinical placement. To complement the student clinical portfolio in PebblePad, Nursing at Murdoch has created assessment templates that can be completed and signed off while the student is on site, including daily timesheets with the integration of Pebble Pocket on smart devices. Since 2014, Drs. Caroline Nilsson and Martin Hopkins have implemented PebblePad into the Bachelor of Nursing curriculum here at Murdoch University. Little by little, each unit of the degree introduced the use of PebblePad templates and the collection of evidence for students' portfolio. The next logical step was to incorporate PebblePad into the clinical placement unit of the degree. If you're part of any program that requires external placement, you'll no doubt be familiar with the documentation associated with the process. Working with the discipline of nursing, a clinical portfolio is a must, not only from a student's perspective, but it is a regulatory requirement from the NMBA. But alas, anyone who has used paper portfolios is aware of what becomes of these portfolios: rips, coffee stains, missing pages, sticky notes. Following a couple of pilots using PebblePad in a clinical placement setting, the main obstacle remained the lack of Wi-Fi in some facilities, as well as the use of computers with internet connections. The implementation of Pebble Pocket is ideal due to its requirement, or lack thereof, needing a connection to Wi-Fi to complete an assessment. The next obstacle is now, can we link the nursing competency assessment templates to Pebble Pocket? Through various trials and renditions, Caroline and Martin successfully made their case and obtained funding to collaborate with PebblePad and develop and implement the use of custom templates in Pebble Pocket relevant to the Bachelor of Nursing. When nursing students download the Pebble Pocket app to their smart device, the Murdoch University banner appears, and when expanded, a list of assessment templates appear. It is now a requirement to possess a smart device to use while on clinical placement. Specific to nursing, the templates reflect the competencies evaluated while on clinical placement. A daily timesheet records the student's clinical hours for the day. It is the student's responsibility to fill in the timesheet accordingly and present it to their clinical nursing facilitator or supervisor for signature. There is no paper to lose or forget. The clinical nursing facilitator or supervisor signs the timesheet. The signature locks the timesheet, which is now an asset, and it is saved to the smart device ready to be uploaded to the student's asset store. The student is unable to make any changes. When connected to internet, it is the student's responsibility to send the signed timesheet to their asset store for inclusion in their clinical portfolio. Naturally, the thought of students spending their time on their smart device throughout their shift just sends shivers down one's spine. As with any clinical placement program, there is a requirement that students adhere to privacy and social media policies. Therefore, at the beginning of each clinical placement, students must sign the student declaration, also found on Pebble Pocket, stating that they only use their smart device unless for the purpose of completing an assessment or timesheet. The student declaration is locked and added to their clinical portfolio. A sample custom template used in Pebble Pocket is the Employer NCAS Competency Assessment, which is used to evaluate students in the process of their skills and abilities as student nurse while on clinical placement. It is an assessment requirement and developed using guidelines from the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia. Using custom assessment templates in Pebble Pocket is in its early stages. The aesthetics must remain very simple, therefore radio buttons and text box best fit the purpose. Working from the student's smart device, the clinical nursing facilitator sits down with the student and fills in the assessment. Once complete, the assessor signs and locks the assessment. The student is unable to alter the form. It becomes their responsibility to send the assessment to the asset store and include it in their clinical portfolio. The competency-based assessment requires the student to complete in the text boxes describing their activity. The process encourages ownership of the student's learning and reflection on how and what the competency was conducted. The clinical portfolio is in the form of PebblePad workbook. Students must complete and attach evidence of their competency assessment throughout their clinical placement. In this context, the evidence is their assessment completed with their clinical nursing facilitator using PebblePad. If the student does not add their evidence, the clinical portfolio is deemed incomplete. As demonstrated in previous slide, the students must complete a daily timesheet found on PebblePad. The signed and locked timesheet is sent from their smart device to the asset store. To provide a clear and visual display of the completed clinical placement hours, the students were instructed to create an activity log, which enables a collation of their timesheets. Students are required to complete 8-hour shifts while on placement for a total of 120 hours. When a timesheet is added to an activity log, the student enters the number of hours for that timesheet using the function provided in the activity log template. By entering the individual timesheet hours, the system counts down the remaining hours, keeping the student on track. Using Atlas, the clinical nursing facilitator is responsible for verifying that hours are completed and entered correctly in the activity log. If there is any question to the validity of the hours entered into the activity log, the ability to click on the timesheet link displays the approved, signed, and locked timesheet and by whom it was signed off. Finally, throughout the clinical placement, students are required to reflect on the competency skills and document these reflections for each competency. As part of the clinical portfolio, 2 milestone assessments are the preclinical reflection, where they must research the facility and their objectives for the upcoming placement, among other things. At the end of the clinical placement, a final reflection of the experience needs to be completed. It is by using pages that the student is challenged in a different area. Not only do they need to complete their reflections, they also need to demonstrate competency in applying technology in their creativity. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the PebblePad team for their support in helping us to develop paperless clinical assessment.